All right, y'all, welcome to the show. I have so many stories to get to that I don't even have time to do shameless plugs. But I will say subscribe. Definitely click that subscribe button. We got lucky recently, hit a big growth spurt. There's a couple videos that went viral. We're trying to keep up that momentum. I think I'm still in front of Breaking Points. I'm just saying, I think I'm still in front of Crystal, which is like my number one goal when it comes to sub numbers is don't give her bragging rights. For the love of God, click that subscribe button, click that bell icon too so you get a notification every single time a video drops. All right, like I said, no teasers, got to jump right into it here. So there's a lot going on, man. Right now, California is going through something that, I don't know, man, it seems fully unprecedented, I guess we can say. And I'm talking specifically about Southern California. They got hit with a hurricane. So they got hit with, it was a Category 1 hurricane, now it's a tropical storm. And then at the same time this was going on, like right smack dab in the middle of it, they got hit with an over 5.0 magnitude earthquake, which they're calling, when I first heard that, I was like, oh my God, Jesus Christ, was this the big like San Andreas one that we've all been fearing for so long? No, apparently it was like what they consider like a moderate earthquake. So I'm going to show you some video of it. There's a lot to say about this, man. So first, let me show you this video. We'll keep talking about it as we go through it. This is interesting because of the animals. Watch this. It's so weird how the animals know like 5 seconds before it happens. If I'm guessing, I really don't know for sure, but if I'm guessing, maybe they feel like the micro shakes beforehand that we aren't picking up, but that's a wild video. Let me play one more time. Now, let me give you another one. I think this one is a little closer to the epicenter, so it's a little stronger. Let's see. Ventura County. So look, the earthquake thing sort of speaks for itself. We know that there's, a giant fault in California. And like I said, everybody's sort of holding their breath and hoping that the big one from the San Andreas fault doesn't come because, honestly, from everything I've read, it appears to be relatively overdue. So that speaks for itself. It's crazy that it hit this same day. But honestly, the wilder thing is the hurricane at all. Because I'm sure you guys have read this or heard about this throughout your lives. I certainly have myself, that California is not supposed to get not only hurricanes, they're not even really supposed to get tropical storms. Now, why is that? For the very simple reason that the water in the Pacific Ocean by California is way, way cooler than what we have here on the East Coast. If you go to the water around Florida, for example, in Georgia, it is always, always way warmer. And it's that warmer ocean water that fuels tropical storms and hurricanes. So the general consensus is that they don't get hurricanes. They barely even get tropical storms in California. And a lot of that has to do with the water. If you go up further north by like Alaska, off the coast of Alaska, obviously freezing climate, and you have, the water is very cold and it circulates down and around the west coast of the United States, so it always keeps that water way more cool. But obviously now, with everything that's been going on around climate change, El Nino as well, we're at a place where that water is not nearly as cool as it usually is, and we just got hit, California just got hit with what was a Category 1 hurricane and has now turned into a tropical storm. So, and also, let's just be clear, this is a bigger issue for the West Coast compared to the East Coast for the very simple reason about the soil. So like the ground in the East Coast, if it rains, well, we're accustomed to getting more rain. So the ground sort of absorbs the water. And of course, the ground gets like a little mushy or whatever, but it doesn't lead to tremendous problems if you get a reasonable amount of rain. On the West Coast, if it rains, honestly, even a little bit, that dirt ground is basically like cement. So it doesn't absorb anything. And so that's when you get, these huge issues with massive flooding. And then, the higher up you go, you get some mudslides and things of that nature. So I got to show you some of these videos, man. So this right here is what's called a debris plug. It's a giant flood with a whole bunch of debris, and it's headed for Palm Springs. Watch this. Look at that. For everybody just watching, I'll explain what it looks like. First of all, it looks gross. Second of all, it's like a whole bunch of like trees and wood and debris in the muddiest water you've ever seen, and it's like a raging river, sort of like a low-level tsunami just rushing downhill. This is crazy. And I don't think I've ever seen anything like this. And just for the record, I'm a pretty avid watcher of the Weather Channel. I have total old man tendencies where I'll turn on the Weather Channel and sit there and watch it and learn about the horror stories of a tornado or a hurricane or whatever. I've never even seen a debris plug. So this is certainly new to me. This is crazy, man. This is some wild stuff. I got a whole bunch of videos here for you, and you'll see how bad the situation is throughout Southern California. By the way, do me a big favor. Support the show on Patreon, because I don't know how long this video is going to be up. I might get hit with some copyright stuff or some patent stuff, because a lot of people with these viral videos end up selling it to a third-party company that then cracks down on everybody and jacks their revenue. So do your boy a big favor and support the show on Patreon. Link below, or tip on YouTube. That helps as well. All right, here we go. Major flooding from Tropical Storm Hillary. By the way, hilarious that it's named Hillary. And this is in Palm Springs. Watch this. Wow. That house is toast, man. I think most of these videos came last night, too. So today, I'm sure it's even worse. Now, this was Baja, California, which, as you know, is like down that little, I want to call it a panhandle, but I don't know if that's the right word, that little like sliver of land coming down at the southern tip of California. And by the time Hillary made landfall here, it was still a Category 1 hurricane. So they probably got hit even harder than what you're going to see around LA, for example. Watch this. Look at this. Wow. I mean, this is a town destroyed. And this is right on the heels of what happened in Maui with the colossal wildfires that, by the way, Biden today is visiting Maui. And, by the way, that had to do with the electrical grid, too. There were issues with the electrical grid, which then led to the extreme wind event at the same time, and so that's what sparked the wildfire. And then, by the way, the death toll is probably going to be over 1,000 in Maui. We don't know anything yet in terms of what's going on in this situation, but there's a lot of flooding, a lot of serious flooding that they're dealing with. Crazy video. All right, I still got more for you. This is, again, Palm Springs. They were getting hit with tremendous flooding. Here's another example of it. One of the roads is just swamped. Look at that. At the same time, we got hit with a hurricane in California, on the West Coast, Southern California. There's also 30,000 people being evacuated in parts of Canada because of their out-of-control wildfires. Like I just pointed out, you have the Maui wildfires. And then now, we're getting to the peak of hurricane season, and many experts are predicting that this hurricane season is going to be worse than others because the water on the southern coast of the United States, there were times where it was literally 100 degrees. It was like being in a freaking hot tub in Key West, Florida, if people were to go in the water over there. And again, that's going to fuel tropical storms and hurricanes. And so now, look at this, guys. There is a conveyor belt of what's called disturbances in the Atlantic Ocean. And these are the things that usually develop into either tropical storms or hurricanes. So I think one of these, as of the time I'm talking to you right now, sort of dissipated. But at one time, there was a conveyor belt, like 5 potential tropical storms or hurricanes that were firing up because of the incredible heat of that water. Now, like I said, one of them dissipated, but I think we're still, at least as of this moment, dealing with 4 potential colossal storms. They could stay at the tropical storm level, or they could graduate into hurricane level. And again, dealing with the water as extremely hot as it is right now, they're predicting this season to have a number of major hurricanes. So I think what I saw was like 4 or 5 major hurricanes is what they're predicting because of the extreme heat of the water. We're at the point now where it's not just the empirical data that is pointing to the fact that the climate is changing. It's not just the empirical data. Now, people's anecdotal experience is lining up with the empirical data. And so you think that would be a wake-up call. Everybody would be, holy cow, we got to do something about this, man. But no, you have, basically a well-funded industry by big oil and the fossil fuel companies, and they still raise doubt. They still muddy the waters. They still try to convince people like, no, this is just weather, and weather changes day by day, and everything goes in cycles, and it's natural what's happening with it. And there's a very strong effort to convince people not to believe their eyes and ears. And at this point, look, if you're not convinced by this stuff that I'm showing you here, I don't know what the hell's going to convince you. Wildfires massively out of control in a bunch of different places, especially in Canada. You have, and they're stronger and they last longer because of climate change. You have a hurricane and a tropical storm hitting Southern California, which doesn't happen. Guys, the last time that happened was like over 80 years ago. And now you got this conveyor belt of potential giant storms firing up in the Atlantic. So it's getting ugly out there, man. And it's one thing to talk about the problems. I think the solutions are important to talk about as well. And you know the deal. There's no magic to any of this. We have to do a complete transition in a relatively short period of time from dirty energy to clean energy. Whether it's solar, wind, nuclear, geothermal, whatever. You need to find a way to get off of fossil fuels because we're only feeding the problem more and more. And so, unfortunately, this seems like it's now the new normal, which is a devastating situation to be in. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.